So I'm here today with Phil from Previse, and we're going to be talking about how Lead and Previse collaborate. Hi Phil, good to see you.
Very nice, thank you.
How would you describe the partnership between Lead and Previse?
Well, first of all, Previse might only be 6 years old, but the partnership goes back a lot longer than that. It's almost like high school friends growing up together. And now we find ourselves doing business in the energy sector where we have complementary solutions. So both in terms of the way that we work together as individuals, the company culture is very similar. And we've kind of just progressively grown up together, a bunch of shared clients.
Why is strong integration capability essential when you're implementing ETRMs, in your opinion?
Good question, because there's two sides to any successful ETRM project. There's of course the software, which is kind of the Previse side, and we think we've developed a market-leading SaaS software which meets a number of the client requests when it comes to scalability and performance. However, that's only part of the story, right? If you can't get the data in, or you can't get the data out of the system, for example, getting trades into the system, or getting prices into the system, or your production forecast, for example, without that data, essentially Previse is fairly non-functional. And the same on the back end as well, right? You've got every year there's more and more reg reporting that's required. Getting that data out of Previse in the right format, at the right granularity, with the right enrichment is not core capabilities of our system. And that's where Lead have presented an offering to many of our different customers.
At what point in a project or sales process do you actually look to include Lead?
You know this.
I do know this.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate that the two companies have worked together for years,
Yes.
right? So the teams know each other. And of course, the sooner we can get you into the sales process when a client is still defining their requirements, the less there has to be a three-way translation, right? So typically Lead Consult are informed of the client's requirements very early on, which allows us to effectively scope out the solution and also the delivery. Who's going to be the right person involved? What potentially can we learn from other customers and implement with this client? And so it's very much a collaboration from the inception of the process with the client.
Tell me what makes Lead a trusted partner for Previse.
That is a great question, and for anybody out there listening, there are a number of ETRM projects that have a poor reputation in the market. So if I was sat on the client side, I would want to sit down with a team that I can look them in the eye and say, do I trust you to help me when things go wrong? And that's what we have in Lead Consult, is that we've known yourself and the founders for a long time, and we can really sit down in a room and say, XYZ problem exists, it's not going to go away because we ignore it. We have to sit down, we have to look each other in the eye and say, what do we do together in order to present the right solution to the client? Or are we the right people to do so? Maybe it involves us including somebody else in that process. But it's really that open communication that really you only get between people you've worked with for a significant period of time, right? And that's what we have across not only the sales organizations, but also the delivery organizations from both teams.
Yeah, I think the way we work together is based a lot on the past in terms of the relationship, and that makes it very easy because we know each other both as people and as professionals, and we also know our process as well. So
true, you say that, but then there's also the innovation side, right? Previse has come to the fore with a new innovative product. I think on the same side, Lead do the same, right? You're constantly looking for new ways to solve old problems, right? Maybe the problem has been solved, just not in the optimal way. And again, I think that's that collaborative nature, but also the constant striving for the next thing.
yeah, for the innovation and for the improvement as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one. How does this partnership help your customers move from ETRM selection to real operational value?
That's a great question. And of course, as a salesperson, I always want to have my customers moving as quickly through the process as possible. But no, I think there's probably three ways in which this partnership really accelerates operational go live for our customers, right? First of all is Lead Consult and Previse have been in this game for quite some time, especially the employees that we have, and they've seen a lot of these problems before. So we bring with us the knowledge and then the best practice of how to solve certain issues that customers will see time and time again, right? There's not a lot in this industry that hasn't been seen by somebody at some point. Help them solve that problem through software solutions or through integrations and through best practice. Secondly, of course, Lead Consult are one of our key app developers. So Previse has this app ecosystem concept where we provide the core capabilities within Previse Coral, but you still need that market connectivity. I think Lead Consult continues to be the largest provider of apps in our ecosystem, so thank you for that.
Always welcome.
And these are basically just used as accelerators for our customers, right? So, for example, a connection to Trayport is pretty much every customer will need that, and Lead Consult provide this through your universal loader. Similarly, you have the external trade submission app for all of the reg reporting requirements. Two relatively complex integrations that can be very frustrating if customers have to figure it out time and time again. And then thirdly, I think we both have the luxury of having very educated teams that don't just come from the tech world, but actually come from industry, right? So when a client is defining their requirements and talking to us about their problems, unless you can have that understanding of the actual business problem and how the user is using the software at the end of the day, it becomes a very difficult analysis process to go through that business process change. So having individuals who have worked either in the energy industry themselves as traders or at least around an energy company, that helps us speed up the delivery for our clients. We understand their requirements, we can document their requirements, and we can start to advise as to the best practice in terms of phasing those requirements into the business with minimal business disruption.
And why do you think early collaboration between ETRM vendors and integration partners is key to project success?
I mean, integration is typically the hardest part of an ETRM project. Nobody sits here and says delivering ETRM is easy, right? That certainly would be a lie on my behalf. So I think understanding what integrations are required, understanding at what point in the project they're required is really highly important. You can start to then phase out a project plan that includes the relevant integrations at the relevant time. So, for example, we have a joint customer in Eastern Europe, very complex migration from an old monolithic system over to a modern platform in Previse, but they have a highly integrated, tightly coupled current incumbent solution. So how do we migrate across from trade capture to being able to push positions to your scheduling solution, to push invoice data to your ERP without disrupting the business, which is in 24/7 operation, right? So the earlier we get visibility into the problems that we may be facing, the more prescriptive we can be with the project planning.
What would you say will be the biggest opportunity in 2026 in the energy sector?
Oh, another great question.
This one is mine.
Well, I mean, we've seen different cycles over the last few years, right? GOOs got really exciting for a while. The price was wild. Everybody wanted a piece of the action. Then PPAs, I think, had their time. Of course, there's still people focusing on PPAs, but it's less of a buzzword. Now, battery assets and BESS seems to be the hot topic for 2026. It's about how do we get those battery assets into a solution like Previse, especially when you look at the upstream optimization of said assets and then trading out in the short-term market. So I think short-term power around the use case of BESS assets is going to be the hot topic for 26.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.